if I can read. All right. Looks like my mic is going. Looks like desktop audio should be unmuted. How are we going there, Knox?
Evening. How's it going?
All right. Looks like I got your sound going pretty good. As people pop in, they can obviously give us feedback. All right, everybody. So welcome to the playground. We usually have our weekly Monday night sessions, but tonight we thought we would throw something together. And yeah, so if you've never been here before, I'm Pixie. I'm a variety streamer. I stream our Monday night Vampire the Masquerade Philly by Night sessions on Monday nights, and variety stream throughout the week various games like Final Fantasy XIV. I'm about to start Life is Strange, so stay tuned for that. And let's get started. We got Knox, our storyteller, with me tonight.
Evening. So, well, we thought we were going to have a lot more. I think we were expecting 3 or 4 others to be here tonight, and then due to mix-ups and
Life happens.
stuff, and yeah, life happens. So we are going to do kind of an impromptu. We're going to go in with Pixie for her character of Alice, and we're going to do a little bit of background fleshing out, and then maybe do kind of like a solo, a little bit of a solo. One of the things that I do when I do character creation with my players is to tell the story of who these kindred were before they were kindred, to kind of build out their lives, build out the story backstory, because it gives then, like one of my big issues that I've always had with like a lot of other games, um, like and just the big one in the room was D&D. A lot of times people like to spend a lot of time, min-maxing their stats, picking out their spells, and going over all of their cool little magic items and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they plunk them down in the game, and then the question's like, okay, so who are you? And they're like, well, I'm a rogue, or I'm a bard, or and it's like, no, that's your character class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who are you? Well, I'm an elf. No, that's your race.
Right.
That is part of who you are as a character, but that is not indicative of you.
Right. It can indicate a lot of your kind of characteristics overall, but not personality.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
when we started the Chronicle for Philly by Night, um, we sat down. We had a session 0 where basically everybody got around the table and kind of hashed out, what kind of kindred they were going to be, how the coterie was going to work, things like that. But then we also had before, I think both before and after that, I sat down with every single person individually, and we went through and told the story of the characters, and where they had been, what were their lives were like beforehand, what were their family lives like, what was, and it I heard from multiple times with my different players that really helped them to kind of figure out and flesh out who this was,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't just they were starting the story here, their character already had a story, they were kind of just stepping into the role.
And then, to interject, I think that's why I really I call this LARPing. Like we really inhabit the characters that we've been able to flesh out, because there is so much personality and there is so much that we inhabit the characters most of the time when we're not going meta. So yeah, I've felt like it's more like LARPing from home.
So one of the things that I wanted to do tonight, since it's going to be kind of a one-on-one for us, is to go back in, look at your character, and try to ask some questions to kind of fill out some of the background story, to the, things that, you know maybe, ask some questions that maybe we haven't been able to address in game that might actually have some amount of relevance to things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big ones, um, that I think has been, kind of a story that hasn't really had the opportunity to really been told, um, is the story about Lane.
Yeah.
So let's go in there a little bit and kind of flesh that out a little bit. Discuss. Um,
I think we had discussed that she was a regular that ended up needing a job. Is that where
the
we were going with it?
so the original, so the notes that I have written down, is that she's kind of floor worker and also your bar back,
Mm-hmm.
when New Rain is, not being taken over by hipsters.
Ugh.
Um, um, she's she is a gender fluid lesbian. She's a little bit more on the bush side of that. She's taller. She's taller than you. She's broader than Alice. She's got kind of that Gina Carano, um,
Yeah, she can haul a keg.
figure. That kind of, she's maybe a little more squared off in the jaw. She's definitely not. Um,
Femme.
yeah, she's definitely not trying to play into the super, femininity of, she's not afraid to be the tomboy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
She was a club regular, kind of down on their luck. Um, and one of the notes that was in there that's kind of interesting for me is that it was listed as being strictly a platonic relationship. Um, the the character that whenever I'm thinking about Lane, whenever, I'm having to bring her into a scene, I always kind of think about her as being, um, that kind of rough and tumble, you know, sibling, that kind of, um, you know, definitely looking out for Alice,
Mm-hmm.
um, but also is one of the types of people who would be like, you're gonna do whatever the fuck you want to do, so I'm not even gonna try to argue with you about it.
Right.
Um, the other part about that was, and the something that one of the other reasons why I specifically chose Lane for that one particularly pivotal and somewhat harrowing scene, um, was because she is a fighter,
Mm-hmm.
more than, I don't think maybe more than Romano or Andre at the time, but certainly more than, say, Clyde or Moira or Rhea.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
she's the type who's not afraid to get into a brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to show, her kind of getting her ass kicked and putting her in a place of danger like that, I felt kind of increased the tension on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't just somebody who was, it wasn't somebody who was weak who was being preyed upon.
Right.
So let's get a little bit more into that for a couple minutes. So Lane, she is Lane. Would do you? I mean, you would know this. She's your goal. Is Lane her real name, or is that a nickname, or?
I would assume maybe it's a name that she took on. Maybe when she came out, maybe when she, assumed her real identity of who she was as a lesbian. Maybe she decided to take on more of a gender fluid name. Because I could see Lane being a male name as well.
Mm-hmm. You think that Alice would know what her real name is?
No. If she introduced herself as Lane, then that's what Alice would take. Face value. That's your preference.
So not necessarily doesn't know, but maybe even doesn't care.
Right.
Okay. How long do you think that they would have been, that she would have been coming in and interacting with Alice to kind of garner this kind of trust?
That's I have to think about that for a minute because I've been with Michael for so long that time is, slightly irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, I would imagine a few years because there would have had to have been some trust. So maybe she was a regular that came in for,
So okay, so let's kind of frame this up on a timeline.
Okay.
So going by the original notes I have for your character creation, you would have been sired in about 2002, and then into Philadelphia in 2003. So you've got a solid 18 years there between when you arrived in Philly and joined the coterie with Michael and today. So is this? Do you think that? Given the situation, would Alice have been the type to have been actively looking for an ally or a ghoul, or is that something that maybe she saw the circumstances with Michael and Moira, and was like,
I think it was a little of both. Seeing that relationship for Michael, and then being like, okay, well, I could have that, and then having this regular that I trusted that had, been coming in for so long, and circumstances just presented themselves.
Okay. What is? You say circumstances presented themselves. Do you think that Lane is the? Excuse me, I can breathe this evening. Do you think that Lane is the type of person who? What is getting in over their head enough to need help to where that kind of situation would make sense? What kind of situation do you think would prompt Alice to see this person and step in and say?
In my mind, I imagine it being a situation that, as strong as she is and is level-headed, that it was a total perfect storm of bad things. Lost a job, probably had a bad breakup, and things just were looking down. And maybe I stepped in with, maybe you could work here, and then probably presented the idea to Michael. I imagine Michael gave me the go-ahead, and XYZ.
Mhm. Do you think that Lane is happy with her lot, or do you think that she is um, kind of there because she's a ghoul?
I don't think she sees it like that. Like, oh, well, I'm a ghoul. This is my life now. And down or anything. I think that she's accustomed to the life. She, enjoys being part of the family, is protective of the family.
So you think that it's that her being a ghoul? Jesus Christ, that her being a ghoul is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah. I think her disposition is very much as it was before she was a ghoul. That she just accepted this opportunity and it is what it is.
Oh my god. Seriously?
Oh, oh, kitty. She wants
All right.
out.
Come on. Move it, loudmouth. Um, how do you think that Lane feels about circumstances with Ruby?
um, in some regards, I regard her as much more level-headed than me as Alice, being the more extreme Malk that I am. She probably thinks that a lot of my decisions regarding Ruby, I wouldn't say are dumb. I think at one point she saw that Ruby was good for me when things were good. And so there was no issue. And then as things became more dramatic and Ruby started dragging us down this rabbit hole, she's not happy with her and probably not happy with me continuing to chase this, but respects me enough to at least support me. She thinks, it might be the wrong decision or, you know, she's the cause of a lot of trouble, but
Do you think Lane has any sort of jealousy that you churned Ruby but didn't churn her? Do you think that that's even something that Lane wants?
no. Cuz like I said, I get that sense that she is who she is and is so I guess in a way so much of her human qualities have just stuck that again she's reserved to this life. She's like, okay, this was an opportunity, I took it, I get to bar back for however long and have this family. So if she has thought about it, Alice doesn't know. Alice has not thought of that.
Okay. Um, let's come away from that and seeing as how we were just talking about the woman herself. Um, how do you think that Alice feels about her child now, especially now that she doesn't have to worry about, about Ruby being a Malkavian. She now has to worry about Ruby being a Duskborn, um, which from a mental health standpoint is probably much better, but from an actual danger standpoint is probably significantly worse.
Yeah. Because Duskborns tend to, I mean, I might be getting this wrong, tend to have a target on their back, correct?
Yeah, the Camarilla in many places, if they don't treat them as complete outcasts, have active blood hunts on them. They are personified product. They're allowed to be targeted, um, which kind of leads to kind of a side conversation. How do you think that Ruby becoming Duskborn has affected Alice's perception of the Thin Bloods? Do you think that before she didn't care about them or thought of them as less than, and now that she's got one of her own, that's changed things? Or how do you think that Alice feels?
Well, on the whole, Alice has always kind of been, as counterproductive as it sounds, against the politics.
Right.
It's been more about the coterie. It's been, saving our own asses and protecting New Rain, which now, has gone to hell. So, on the whole, I don't think I ever had a problem with the Thin Bloods. It was just they are who they are, even though they aren't really accepted into society. Whatever.
Okay.
And so the main concern is obviously just that target, not what she is overall or what clan, whatever she belongs to. It's just now going to be the goal to protect her.
Speaking of women in Alice's life, what about Marla?
I've brought up in a lot of sessions where I've tried to call her or text her, and there hasn't been much recently, if I remember.
Well, the last time that we would have heard anything from Marla would have been, I believe...
Wasn't she in Jersey or something? I'm probably misremembering.
Would have been session 18.
Hmm.
So it would have been the last time that Alice reached out to Marla would have been before. It was during the whole situation with the Tremere in the basement, and Ruby was off doing whatever she was doing, and then everything happened with the SI. So
yeah.
Realistically, Alice hasn't heard from or reached out to Marla since it's probably been 6 weeks, and it's been a hard 6 weeks.
Yeah. She wasn't exactly high on the priority list when we were trying to escape with our lives.
Do you still think that Marla is pretty low on the priority list for Ruby, or for Alice rather?
I think right now that New Rain is pretty much top priority, period, as far as situations go. I mean, obviously, as far as people go, it's figuring out how we're going to protect Ruby? I mean, is it really as simple as like just making sure she doesn't actually walk outside during daylight? Like, I mean, what other ways would a Duskborn be like easily spottable?
So Duskborn, they have a number of different fashions in which they are um, more easily detectable um, in some cases than in others. One, um, they are still dead, even though that they have basically a permanent blush of life. Even though they still have all of um, the parts of them that are still working, fluids moving, and all of that. Um,
I mean, we're
somebody
talking zombie here. I mean,
well, no. What I was gonna say was, so somebody who uses, for instance, Bloodhound is going to be able to instantly tell that they're not a human.
but also
Um,
that they're not full
well,
vampire.
no, they'll know that they're kindred. Um,
Okay.
but Duskborn are kind of in that weird. So so getting kind of into the the lore as I see it.
Okay.
So for whoever's reading or watching this out there, if your name is Jason Carl, sorry if I'm fucking this up. Um, because the story of the Duskborn is literally that the blood is too thin um, to propagate. Um, they are basically the last generation of vampires, or
Mm-hmm.
the last generation of this version of kindred. Whatever comes after this will probably be, you know, even less than this and closer to human. Um, but so when the difference, as far as like as I can tell, would be um, the difference between, say, walking into a kitchen where something has been cooked
Mm-hmm.
or is cooking right now, or walking into a house where something was cooked there. Um, you can't necessarily get the full smell, but you can definitely tell what it was.
Okay.
So kind of, so from that standpoint, um, in a way, they might even be more identifiable as kindred because they don't smell right.
Okay.
Um, there's obviously the all of the, the vampire stuff. Now with Ruby in particular, it's probably, um, on one hand, there are things about her that are, um, that maybe might make somebody who wasn't looking real close think ghoul, not duskborn. Um,
Okay.
she has no fangs.
Yeah.
Um, that is a pretty big, in terms of a are you a vampire or not. Not having fangs tends to be a pretty big.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I'm sure we can get that taken care of with.
you, I mean, you certainly could. There's definitely ways to, you can get her a grill, or, or fake implants or things
Yeah,
like that. But
definitely.
um, the 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 question there maybe that needs to be asked is that actually, um, is that something that's actually useful for her? Is it maybe more useful for her to not have fangs and need a different way, so that way she can evade detection under certain circumstances?
It is something
Um,
that I've thought over. It's like that line of, do we go that way into protection and trying to make her look more like a vampire and have all these qualities, or can we take advantage of some of these things that she is able to do? But in that realm, how do we still protect her?
so here is something else about Duskborn. Um, that is something that is both a very, very powerful tool and also a very, very easy it's kind of a double blade edged thing. Um, the Duskborn don't have beasts the same way that kindred do. So as her hunger increases, she doesn't have that whispering in the back of her head the way that you do, or Idaho does, or Michael does. Um, so there is a it is really more about her self control, her ability to maintain and to kind of keep herself, you know.
So probably like a feeding schedule, maybe.
You not necessarily a feeding schedule per se, but definitely one of those things where you, um, if she gets hungry, it's not probably going to be like you're not going to have to worry about her freaking out and
Right.
going nuts and killing somebody because the beast she goes nuts. On the other hand, because there is no voice there, those actions are hers. So it can, just because she doesn't have the beast there doesn't mean that she doesn't have that hunger. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that she isn't a junkie just like all the rest of you.
Yeah.
The difference is well, I mean, as bad as the beast is, how bad do you think junkie behavior will demonstrate down to when that need is literally what's in someone else's body?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds in its own way like a really bad situation.
Yeah.
um, okay, so let's kind of fleshing out just kind of more some topical stuff here.
Okay.
Um, how do you think that Alice feels about all of these new additions that are kind of circling around the coterie? Originally, it was just, you know, because originally it was just the three of you. It was just you and Michael and Vic.
Vic.
And then, Threnody came in and that brought, and asked for help, and that brought in Idaho. He's
Mm-hmm.
been around for a little bit, so he's maybe not an OG, but he's been around a bit. But now
Yeah.
suddenly, after everything that's happened with the SI, and now you know, you've got Kai who's wandering around. You've got Ruby who's kind of on running around. Um, you've got Andrea, who there was already some contention with there. You've got now Nawal. Like this,
Yeah.
like suddenly this went from being kind of an intimate group to now suddenly starting to get much bigger.
Yeah.
Um, how does Alice feel about this?
Um, I'd say there's, I almost said mistrust, but in Alice's mind, I'm sure it's blown into, some sort of mild paranoia of these new kin, like just obviously trusting them enough because these people are needed in the situation, but not knowing them, could they betray us at any time? That's kind of always running in the back of her head. But there is a strong trust of Michael's guidance as well.
So okay, so kind of going down that list. Um, do you think that Alice sees these people as part of the coterie, or sees them kind of as kind of glomming on to the outside, and kind of as there's a core group of us,
Yeah.
there's the four, the original,
They're
we're
the
the ones that are,
fringe.
and then there's the fringe. Do you think she would feel that same way about Ruby?
No.
Do you think? Okay, so they're just being there. Do you think that Alice sees Ruby as part of the coterie.
Yes, because she was always trying to get her there. Through her whole disappearance, it was always in Alice's mind that she was going to be part of this family one way or another, whether she was turned or ghouled.
Fair, very fair. What about, in a kind of completely different direction, what about Alice's sire, Henry? You know, he showed up briefly, um, and while I don't think that the discussion was ever had with Alice, Henry made it very clear to Michael that he was trying to get Alice out of the Anarch movement and trying to get her a place in the Ivory Tower. Do you think that Alice would have appreciated or even considered it, or would she have seen that as kind of some sort of slight, like?
Oh, he could have fucked off.
You don't
That
think that she would have?
no. Having a lot of feelings of rejection and loneliness in her human life, especially because of her mental illnesses. I think very much of that carried over. And when she finally found family, people that not only accepted her but trusted her, even in all of her madness. No, any offer of the Ivory Tower would have gotten a big ol'.
How do you think, since it was something that came up, how do you think that Alice felt? Not so much just about Nawal, but also Nawal's home.
Remind me again.
I mean, Nawal's home is quite
The
literally is haunted.
Oh yeah.
And didn't have a problem reaching out very, very quickly to Alice.
I think it's intriguing. Probably slightly entertaining in a maddening way. But not initially freaked out. I mean, Alice already copes with the madness in her head, the voices, the visions, like a haunted house. You think this is the worst we've seen or heard? No, 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 no.
I was gonna say, I mean, even just in the last couple of weeks with the escape from the SI facility.
Oh yes, nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrows.
How do you think that she feels about Nawal?
Probably very much the same as like we talked about, the fringe of the group right now. It's just going to take time to build trust. But I don't think there's like a dislike or complete distrust. Just she's new. Right. There's still more to find out before making like this full decision. I'm not one for first impressions.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all pretty much, fake. So it's better to take the first impression and then see what the person does after the fact. So it's going to be very much, can she, prove herself?
All right, let's actually get in and do a little bit of a session here. So, as we do, we start all of our sessions. Let's do some housekeeping and start with a hunger check to see
Ooh.
if Alice is waking up, perhaps a little peckish, or if she's got.
I can't even remember if I fed last time.
You did. You fed on Lane.
Oh, yeah. She gave me a snack.
Is the API working? That worked for me.
Oh, okay. Try again. Why does it keep adding spaces? Ah.
Oh, so you wake up. You are a tad hungry. So it is the next night. When you awaken and step out onto the balcony of the apartments, Philadelphia is blanketed in low-lying clouds. It is not raining right now, but it has very, very obviously been drenching the city while you have been asleep. The other thing that would immediately catch your eye is that you are right next door to your former haven, and there are cops everywhere.
Ho, 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 ho.
There is a absolute just bonkers amount of cops, and from where you are, you see why. In the back, near the door, there are 2 body bags.
Well, that worked, didn't it?
The door of the apartment opens, and you can hear shuffling and what sounds like bags being brought in. Are you going to stay out on the balcony and continue watching the cops, or head inside?
Do I sense who it is, or are we talking about like an intruder?
No, this is. It sounds like the key went into the door and somebody has come in. Like not a.
I'll watch the cops a few more minutes. What do I see?
The you see cops there asking questions. There are, people who are, trying to talk to people who are down on the ground they've managed to, from where you see, you can't be sure, but given the amount of police officers that are there and tape, it appears that the your former home is probably not open for business tonight. In the alley, you can also see that the cops are talking to someone. He's not entirely difficult to make out for you. Slicked back hair, the suit that is maybe a size too big for him. His tie is undone. He looks a little haggard. Now obviously you're not up close, you can't see his face. But the body language and the gestures he's making shout incredulity and being upset that his privilege is not getting him anywhere.
Oh, of course.
And yeah, he is not a happy boy.
But I for sure can tell, like, we're talking about Carmelo, right?
Yep.
But and although I can't see his face.
From here, so let's, to give you kind of a distance of what you're seeing here, he's probably about 5 or 6 stories down, and probably, let's say, he'd be like 2 or 3 apartments over.
Okay.
So it's, again, it's not a short amount of distance between you two. But it's, again, definitely enough to be able to see and know, even if you can't hear.
Yeah.
Although if you really wanted to, you definitely have a tool for that too.
I was about to say which one is that?
That would be,
pull that up.
If you want to snoop further, that would be share the senses.
That's right.
But you would have to be careful to not let him know that you are listening in.
I could just pop into one of the cops' minds, right?
You could do that. You could absolutely pop into one of the cops' minds, and that's probably not as big of a deal. If they feel somebody else is up there, they're probably not going to be terribly sure what they feel in it now. Maybe too long on the job or whatever. So you want to do that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So using share the senses, you are looking at, so one, you're going to need to rouse the blood to do this. So we need another rouse check to see if you get hungrier. Oh, not hungrier.
Nice.
And then this will be your resolve plus your auspex. So your resolve is 2, your auspex is 3. So you're rolling a 3 and 2 roll because you're for your.
Okay. Oh, my keyboard's stuck. 3, 2.
So your successes, So let's ask this: which senses are you attempting to take over and glom onto? All of his senses, or?
No, just hearing and smell.
So not sight?
Oh, well. Yeah. I was just trying to deduce what I didn't want. Yeah.
So okay, so not touch,
Not taste.
So the smell is kind of the first thing that hits you. It is not the smell of the bodies. The bodies have already been bagged.
Mm-hmm.
It's the smell of the trash from the dumpster. The dumpsters just don't smell like they have been emptied in a while. It is almost overpowering. Suddenly go from smelling the nothing, the nice smells of your apartment mates to suddenly it's like sticking your head in the dumpster. It's
Oh, gross. Ew.
But even more than that, there is some things that immediately become apparent before anything else. This police officer likely has some sort of hearing problem.
Fuck.
Everything is a little fuzzy. It doesn't sound. It's not unclear, but it's that kind of feeling like maybe he's got like a hat or hand put over his ear or something like that. It's
How does he have a job like that? Okay, anyway. So, what do I gather?
However, even with the hearing problem, it is not difficult to make out what Carmelo is saying in a tone that most people would not dare use on a Philly police officer.
Right.
The words that you catch as you come in are, how the fuck am I supposed to know where they came from? Fucking homeless people die out here all the time. Like, not here, obviously. I'm not saying that. Don't use my words against me. But fucking, I'm not responsible for every dead body that shows up in an alleyway out here. It's your guys' fucking job. The cop looks at his friend. The other cop's body language is not exactly open. You hear from inside, the cop's voice says, we're not blaming you, we're just saying you've got security cameras, right? You should be able to see something that happened here, see something that, if you're saying that these bodies just showed up, where'd they show up from? You're the one who is putting, the saying that you didn't put them back here. Okay, then who did? Carmelo throws up his hands and says, "No, we don't have security cameras back here. They don't work." The cops look at one another. And you feel the perspective kind of jostle a little bit. His eyes go down and you see why he's crossed his arms. The other cop says, "Well, isn't that fucking just a little bit of coincidence? Two dead bodies show up and your security cameras don't work. That seems a little sketch."
The sus.
Carmelo is sweating. And it's kind of at this point that you realize that Carmelo is still very human.
Very interesting.
This is not the behaviors and composure that a kindred or even a ghoul would exemplify in this circumstance. This is straight humanity. Your intrusion is interrupted by a tap on your shoulder. Do you leave the officer's head or do you stick around?
I go and leave. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've heard the majority of what I need to hear, at least enough to report back to Michael.
Ruby is standing in front of you, or beside you rather, wearing a kind of soft heather gray hoodie. It's a little oversized. She's wearing a pair of kind of baggy black jeans. And she has on her face a pair of anime-styled giant sunglasses. The bridge of the nose is one of those famous Japanese robots. And over the top of the lenses, in one hand is the sword and in the other is the shield. She has a big smile on her face as she sees you. And she says, I got you a present.
Really?
She reaches into her hoodie pocket and pulls out a set of brass knuckles. They are anodized cyberpunk pink and on the knuckles there are little engraved broken hearts.
I love them. I'm liking these glasses too.
Ruby smiles all teeth and pushes a button in the dead middle, and it starts playing what sounds like laser effects and sword slashing effects. Speakers built in on the sides. You know that if this was being played out in public, people would be looking and being completely annoyed. But in the here and now, it's just cute. She holds open a shopping bag and says, I'm not sure if these will fit you, but I did what I could. It is simple. It's a pair of faded charcoal gray blue jeans. They're a little bigger on the waist, and they look like they might be a little short, but better than wearing the cast off clothes that you've been wearing.
Thank God.
There's also a black t-shirt. It's got some tour dates on the back, and the logo on the front is super faded. But unlike the jeans, this one actually looks like it fits.
Nice. I can make this work.
She winks at you over the top of the glasses and says, between that and the brass knuckles, we can always go get you some more.
This is true.
Her stomach rumbles. She goes, can we go get something to eat? She goes, Lane told me that I needed to wait for you.
Yeah. Definitely. Especially now that we have some protection. So, what are you in the mood for?
She freezes. Her face was not ready for that question. I don't know. I don't know. The only time that I've eaten was that one time with you. So I don't know. I don't know how this is supposed to go. She's like, I don't even have fangs. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I'm guessing for now, we hunt together. And you'll just have to learn the ropes the best you can.
She smiles at you, and she goes, well, I know you'll take care of me.
Of course.
So, it is you and your child. Where are you going to go hunt? Are you going to stay local? Are you willing to travel?
Well, I have to take into consideration my wardrobe at the moment. It doesn't seem like I'm going to get into any bars or clubs without really causing a stir, I'm guessing, in these clothes. What is our money situation?
So, you've got, between all of you, you have a little bit of money. They did not confiscate the ghouls' bank accounts or anything like that. All of the kindred bank accounts have been compromised, and both of those were business accounts, as it were. Michael didn't keep the money, in banks for this exact reason. So you're not, let's say you're not going to be buying a car tonight, but you are more than capable of getting an Uber or...
I was also thinking of new outfits. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of funky little boutique still open at this point.
So you've got, if you're going to go do anything like that, you've got a couple different options. You've got resale shops, some vintage shops that are going to be
Mm-hmm.
nearby, things like that. Many of those are already going to be closed. The couple that are open are probably going to lean more towards your resale shops. Um, you could probably also find some open high-end boutiques, but if you're doing that, you're probably going to have to travel, likely into Center City.
Well, the plan would be to get better outfits, not necessarily expensive, just something more our style, and then maybe head into a club. Um, or I'm thinking some kind of busy place where if we were to, take someone that was at least of my taste, um, there could be some seduction, and the two of us, I'd be able to feed her.
So you manage to find that there's a local mall that has some upscale stuff. I mean, some of it's boutique, some of it's pretty typical stuff for a mall. You got your Macy's and um, your J.C. Penney's, but you've also got your Hot Topic and your Spencer's and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I mean, that definitely works. That kind of stuff's pretty cheap.
your issue right now is that the mall is currently closed. So if you want to go in and get at those kind of clothes, you're going to have to break in. It's not necessarily the most difficult or.
But you said there would also be a few like resale shops still open, possibly at this hour.
Mm-hmm. There are also some resale shops.
Yeah, I'd rather go with what's open. We're not gonna break in. No B&Es tonight. At least not yet.
Fair
not
enough.
for clothes. Not for clothes.
All right. So let's see how successful you are. Let's make this a roll. Let's say your wits and we'll say streetwise.
Makes sense. So what are we working with?
So we're working with 4 and 2. Not bad. You managed to find a resale shop that has not anything particularly to choice. However,
you do have to remember here, Alice has some eccentric tastes. So, I don't know.
So, here, on 2 successes, I will let you tell me what you're looking for, and I'll tell you about how close that you get to the mark. Because keep in mind, you are also trying to find something for Ruby, too.
I mean, anything from a little black dress to pinstripe pants to, acid wash jeans, a leather jacket, even, the whole Fight Club bridesmaids, dress that was worn for just a day, Alice, I think, is a lot like me in that regard. Like,
so I will say that you come out with kind of a mismatch. The You were able to find a bridesmaid's dress that is a little too short for you, but otherwise fits. Um, Alice is, or excuse me, Ruby is um, not so lucky. Uh, the closest that she can come up with is basically a pair of pinstripe pants and like a long sleeve white shirt. Um, it leaves her looking a little bit short of perhaps the puffy shirts from New Rain the other night. But definitely makes her look a little bit like she's like a hostess that's coming out for
So the faded rock tee that I was wearing before changing into the dress, I give to her.
Okay.
Take the white bullshit off here. Just wear this, tie it off at the waist, kind of, we'll work it.
She follows your lead, and as you guys are stepping out of the resale shop, you catch a glimpse of the pair of you in a mirror. The first thing that jumps out to you is one, you don't exactly look like you're ready to be going anywhere, but you also definitely don't look like you just escaped from a government facility, which is probably the more important part.
I mean, at this point, it'll get us into like a pool hall or skeezy bar or some bullshit.
And there are many of those. So, okay. So, what are you trying to find to find some place to feed? Are you looking for like a pool hall or something like that? Or are you looking for a dive bar? Are you looking for a nightclub?
If the nightclub doesn't exactly have a dress code, if it's nothing like that's too like high end Miami, crap, like it's just kind of a house club or something like that we could actually kind of mix into, that would kind of be the goal. Big crowd, big dance floor, something easy to find some prey.
So, there are a couple places that you could conceivably go. The one that you have been to before is called the Voyeur.
Okay.
It is typically a dance club. They've got DJs there. They do theme nights. They've got do drag night. It is not a particular place that is difficult to get into, particularly not for kindred.
Well, that and I still kind of have the scene queen thing working for me as well. I imagine I would kind of be recognized.
Perhaps, but you also are kind of without your scene, as it were, right now.
Okay, yeah. I guess I kind of had that ripped out from underneath me, so.
So when New Rain comes back, in whatever form that it does, that will probably be a bigger deal. But as it is, you've been kind of MIA for a while now, slipping into a club is probably not the most difficult thing for you. So, when you get there, there is not a particularly long line outside, but it is definitely the kind of night that you know that you will be able to find some very, very willing and interested morsels. Um, the people who are outside are a mix of being dressed very decadently, Shrine of Hollywood, things like that. Men are often dressed in full suits, jet black, black on black everything. Um,
Mm.
there is a there are a couple standouts in the crowd, um, but this is very, very much, you think in the back of your head, a Toreador crowd.
Mm.
These are people who are so obsessed with what they look like that for them it's not about actually wearing it, it's about being seen in it.
Yeah.
When you get there, line goes quick.
Good.
You get inside. Inside, it is dark. There are flashing strobe lights. There is heavy bass music playing. There is the bars are not particularly busy. There's a bit of a crowd. It's pretty obvious that the evening is just started up. Um, so, what's your game plan here? What are you trying to find?
Game plan, find someone that smells really good, uh, is my kind of vintage, and does this place have like booths? Does it have like kind of small seating rooms? What are we talking about as far as like secluded parts of the club?
There are booths. Um, there are uh, there are places where the things are over, like they're like balconies where things are, are overhanging. Um, it is not a it is not as cloistered as perhaps New Rain is.
Yeah.
Floors are a lot more open. There's a lot more sight lines. Um, but with that said, there is no lack of PDA going on. People are bumping and grinding. People are making out heavily in booths.
This works for us.
So there are parties of people who are going in and who are doing, say, heading into the bathroom and in large parties. So it's it is not a, even though there's a lot of things to be able to see, it is perhaps in some ways easier to be anonymous.
Exactly.
So we're going to make, let's see. Now you said you're looking for something that's more your taste.
I mean, would that work for Ruby or?
You don't know. But the better question is, or does that mean you are looking for someone who looks like they might be on something, or what are your parameters for what your taste is that you're looking for here?
I mean, pretty much like Ruby was doing, you know, it was before, you know, she dabbled in a bit of everything, so you know, I'm kind of fine with almost anything on that spectrum, really.
Okay.
High is high.
So let's do a simple roll. It's gonna be 2 and 2. Okay. So you find a small group. They are not exceedingly well dressed. They're certainly not the showboats and some of the other people that are here. But when you come nearby and you give them a nod and Ruby gives them a little wave, they're only too willing to wave back and engage with you, which gives you the perfect opportunity to get in with the group. In the group, there is a younger man. He's maybe a little lanky, a little geeky. He's definitely the third wheel, or in this case, probably more like ninth wheel to his group of friends. He is definitely checking you and Ruby out.
This works.
When you get to talk to him, he is polite. He's mostly intelligent. He's more baffled than anything that you and Ruby are chatting him up. Ruby grabs his hand, pulls him out to the dance floor. What do you do? Do you follow them out? Do you stay with the group?
I'm gonna follow them out. I want to keep an eye on her, so we'll just kind of act like this is a cute little dance party for a little bit. See if we can wrangle the guy in. But I don't trust feeding on the dance floor. Idaho might get away with that shit.
So while you were out on the dance floor, Ruby maneuvers him between the two of you. He is a terrible dancer. No game. 0 game. But it's also pretty obvious he doesn't care. He's having fun. He's laughing. He's smiling. You can feel the heat in his blood as he continues to dance with you. It's not just arousal, it's not just sexual energy, it is also he's never had anybody like this like pay attention to him. He's never
Aw, he finally crawled out of the basement. I'm joking. I hate that stereotype. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I should have said that.
He is exceedingly just like, this is, you can tell that this is going to be, definitely something that he remembers for his life, being one of those nights. Ruby looks at you and gives you a wink. She leans up and whispers something to him, and he looks back at you, and he's got eyes like saucers.
Good Lord. What did she tell this boy?
You can hear the party of his friends start to make whooping sounds at his reaction. And those whooping sounds only get louder as Ruby grabs your hand in his and starts to pull him off the dance floor.
Where is she dragging us? Please say a booth. Please say a booth. Please say a booth.
So, I
hate the bathrooms.
Well, in this particular case, you actually have a slightly better option here than under other circumstances.
Okay.
The bathrooms here aren't like, say, the bathrooms at certain nightclubs in Houston or things like that. Here, the bathrooms are like they were at other nightclubs in Houston, where they were unisex. Simple unisex rooms that anybody can go into. So, when you guys get to one of the bathrooms, she looks around and then goes to pull him in, and he kind of has a "whoa, what's going on" moment. So what do you do?
Don't I have like some kind of I hate when I can't remember my own powers. Comes with shitty memory. What's under my aspects? No. Remind me, dementation. I know I just took that recently.
Dementation is a more combative ability.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Dementation is the... Let me... go pull it up here.
I mean, I don't think, obviously I'm going to use it, but I know I just took that power and I still have no clue what it is. Oh. Hit my computer. Ouch.
So, dementation. This subtle power requires nothing more than casual conversation as the vampire's insidious influence hides between the lines and inflections employed. The victim finds themselves increasingly agitated as their inner demons bubble to the surface, eventually drowning out all rhyme and reason.
That's right. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to rely on my own smoothness. Yeah, hey, look, we just want to have a little fun. If you want to have some fun with us.
I mean, I do. I trust me, I do. I just, it's... this is a little sudden. I'm a little nervous, a little I'm not really sure how how this works. So make a. Are you trying to? How shall I phrase this? Are you trying to put him at ease here to persuade him, or are you trying to manipulate him?
More put him at ease. I mean, at least at first. If it doesn't work, then we'll go into manipulation. But if I can put him at ease enough to be like, hey, come on, it's just a one-time thing, you know? Like.
So roll your charisma and your persuasion. So that's going to be another 4 and 2 roll.
Okay.
You can just re-roll that one.
I always forget.
He's not entirely sure. He's kind of like nodding. He's like, okay. I mean, I mean, like you're not trying to like play tricks on me or anything, right? Like this isn't some sort of like joke, right?
No, honey. Not at all. I mean,
because that kind of stuff happens to me.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah, it just seemed like you were kind of lonely out there with your friends, and we're only going to be in town for one night. We just thought we'd have some fun.
He smiles shyly and goes into the stall with you. So, how are you going to do this with Ruby?
If I can obviously get the bite and get him into his state of euphoria, then I will, kind of let her latch on, kind of Claudia style here.
Okay, so are you going to feed off of him at all?
What's her hunger at? Because
your hunger is at a 2, hers is at a 3.
Nah, 2 I think I can live with. Like, I'd rather get her taken care of.
Okay, because I was going to say, because you can drink 3 off of a human and still for them to be fine. Like, there is certainly enough for you to both be satiated off of this.
I mean, okay, like, my main concern was taking care of her, but if I can have a little nip and close everything up, then...
So, you latch on. Where do you bite him?
I'm gonna go for the classic for the neck, because then at least it feels more like we're making out and I'm just kind of nuzzling into... Yeah, if I went for the wrist, that might be a little like, what's going on?
Right. So, Ruby comes at him from behind. You've got him in front. And there's some kissing. There's nuzzling going on. Hands are moving all over. And then you sink your teeth in. And it is light and it is airy. And there is the feeling of arousal. But there is more than arousal. It is happiness. It is feeling included. It is a completely just sanguine flavor on your tongue. And as you pull away and Ruby latches on and starts drinking of him, you get to look in his eyes, and he is just bliss. This is a moment that he will remember for the rest of his life, even if he ever talks about it and no one ever believes him. It is a moment that he will remember for the rest of his life. And at this point, it seems like an appropriate place to take a break.
Yes. All right, everybody. We're going to head over to the Be Right Back screen. It's a good time to go get a drink, hit up the bathroom, grab a snack. And we'll be back in about 10-ish. All right. Let's do that. All right, so Knox isn't back yet, but I just figured I would see how everybody's doing. Feel free to hit me up in the chat. I do keep an eye on it during gameplay. We don't have alerts or anything set up for while we're doing the role playing. But yeah, how's everyone? I hope you're doing well. Plug in my phone. That way it doesn't die on me. I really should set up Pretzel for breaks. That way there's some music going in the background. I had a lot of fun checking out some other new streamers today. Black Shuriken was one of them. That was a really fun stream. I think I mainly watched their streams, very long streams, so a lot of fun. I mostly did a lot of promoting today, laundry, life stuff. And I should say, it just occurred to me that I hit 158 followers, and that crept up on me pretty quick. So I'm really excited to have a new goal of 200. So that's been what I've been working towards. And I've started getting subscriptions, which is very exciting and always appreciated. I know I say a lot. I'm trying to work on that. I didn't notice how bad it was until I started making TikToks. They have the caption feature, and I started using that, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of ums in here. Gotta take care of that. I'm hoping that Michael's okay. We'll check on him. And don't forget, we're live. He's back.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So, you were saying don't forget?
Oh, I was just actually kind of chatting to people, letting them know that if they have their Amazon Prime account linked to their Twitch, they'll get one free subscription a month to use on any channel you like. And of course, if it was me, it'd be really awesome. But it's your choice, and it's free. So yeah, if you don't have it linked, it's super easy to do. And then you get that free one a month.
It's very true. And it definitely helps us to continue.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys want to hear this stuff. So, all right. Let's start back up with our solo session here. So, when we left up, the two of you were feeding on some very hapless but feeling very lucky young man. You said that you were only drinking to bring your hunger down. One, well, she is drinking her fill, if I remember. Is that correct?
Taking her down too. Mm-hmm.
So, when she pulls her mouth away, and she has definitely been a bit of a messy eater. And there is blood smeared kind of across her lower mouth. Dude is zoned out. You look into his eyes, and his pupils are pinpricks. He is just short of being unconscious. And Ruby is taking advantage of the situation and is running her hands all over him and then all over you. And that's when you hear a knock. It is two sharp raps on the glass of the unisex door. Ruby freezes. Her mouth still covered in blood. So what are you gonna do?
I yell occupied, and I motion to Ruby at her face in the sink. And at that point, I close up Homeboy and lick him clean.
The Ruby is over the sink, running blood, water over her face. While she is getting herself clean, you notice that she still has kind of a bit of a red stain that won't be necessarily all that obvious out under the dark, but here in the bathroom light, it looks very obvious. The other issue is that there is definitely a ring of blood on the sink itself from her washing it out.
She's not smart enough to wipe that shit out?
Well,
Come on.
it is quite a bit and sticky. And the rapping on the door has not stopped.
I look at Ruby and ask her if she trusts me.
She nods.
I take her hand and I bite her palm open. Not much, just enough to look pretty bad.
Okay.
Homeboy is still, what, looking pretty passed out, somewhat maybe drunkish?
He is still so caught up in the euphoria from the kiss that he might as well be a bag of flour for all of his inner activity. Like he is conscious, but he is blissed out.
Okay, so he looks high, like ecstasy. Some kind of shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. At that point, her hand's bleeding. He's kind of looking all wonked out. I open the door. Who am I looking at?
She has a kind of pixie cut, high plane cheekbones, kind of almond shaped eyes, and thin lips. She is wearing a white short sleeve button up with a black vest over top, a black skirt.
She like an employee here?
She is possibly an employee. But you don't get that kind of skin color without having been dead for a bit.
Oh, God. I'm looking at her. What?
She smiles and, in a kind of high lilting voice, says, "Hi, can I talk to you for a minute?"
I'm a wee bit busy. What can I do for you?
She looks past and sees Ruby and the boy.
I didn't open the door that much. Shit. But okay.
She still smiles. She leans in a little bit and says, "You know this is someone else's domain, right?"
I didn't. But I suppose I know now. I'm very sorry. It was desperate measures. I can be out of here, like, now. I'm not looking for any trouble.
She smiles and goes, "What's your name?"
Alice, and yours?
She goes, "I'm Tabitha."
Nice to make your acquaintance.
She goes, "I don't recognize you. And I've never seen you at Elysium. And you're definitely not a rose. So I'm going to guess you're probably not one of us."
Nope. Not part of that crowd.
She goes, "So, then, what is it worth to you? For me, not to go running and telling that I have found an anarch in my territory."
Well, what can I do for you? As far as my worth, I'm not worth much, so, um, maybe some kind of deal?
She smiles and she says, I thought you would never ask. She goes, can I come in?
Well, I'm invading your space, so, please help yourself.
So she opens the door and scoots in. At this point, you look over at the guy, and even with his eyes as blown out as they are, like, he sees now there's another girl there, and like, you can hear his heart rate go up. Like, you're worried dude's gonna stroke out.
Poor guy.
Tabitha looks at Ruby and kind of squints her eyes and then looks at you and goes, so just you and your ghoul?
Yep.
She looks back and forth between the two of you. And she, after a bit, rolls her eyes and goes, you know, I can think of literally absolutely nothing that I would want either one of you to do. She goes, you both have hideous fashion sense. And she's like, I literally could not think of a single thing that I would want your help with. She goes, so, I'm going to turn around and walk out of here and pretend that this didn't happen. I'm going to leave it up to you two to clean up. She looks at the guy and like just dripping disdain. Like if she didn't already think less of you for your clothes, your choice in food has definitely not made you done you any favors here in her eyes.
We're garbage people.
She looks at you and says, clean this up. Fix it. I don't care how you do it. And get out of my club.
As you wish.
She goes, if I see you again, I don't care where it is. I'm going to tell people about what I saw tonight. So it's best interest to stay the fuck away from me and from this place.
You got it.
She looks down at Alice's hand and she goes, and if you're going to do this trick, don't use your teeth. It looks fucking obvious.
I didn't exactly have a knife on me.
She goes, well,
Had to improvise.
There's your first problem. She spins on her heel, throws the door open, looks back at you. She goes, 5 minutes, get out.
Yep.
Ruby looks at you like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, if I lick her hand, it'll close it up?
She has already licked her hand to
Okay.
close it up.
Okay. Um, yeah. So the two of us haul this guy back over to his group of friends, and we're like, yeah, he wasn't looking so hot, so you might want to check on him.
They are concerned. There's definitely some murmurs among the group. They're like, "What did you do to him?" But the blissed out look on this dude's face, like, you're pretty sure that he would go along with whatever story, and he's gonna come up with a story on his own.
Yup.
So you hand him off to his friends,
Yup.
and then you leave.
Oh yeah.
So you're outside the club. You're walking away.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby is looking at you like she is happy, but she is full, but she is very confused about what she has just witnessed.
Yeah, so we have a long talk on the way back to the apartment.
Okay. What do you tell her?
I guess at that point, the long and short of the hierarchy and domains.
So, she has questions.
Yep.
She says, "So, is the apartment your domain, or is the club your domain, or?"
If I'm remembering, our area is contested right now
Well, so
because of the takeover, or still not contested? Like, how? Where are we at?
okay, so as a whole, West Philadelphia is currently contested in ownership between the Camarilla and the Anarchs. In terms of your domain, um, your previous domain would have been the areas, basically the apartments, the club itself, and then like kind of surrounding blocks. That was kind
Right.
of like the area that had been marked off as Michael's,
Mm-hmm.
and ergo by being Michael's, also being yours to hunt him.
Mm-hmm.
As it is now, that's probably still true-ish, with the exception of obviously of the club itself.
Okay.
They're probably now, because the entire area is contested, that like if you got caught out by somebody in the cam who thought that they had some sort of claim over it, there's probably a conflict to be had there.
Right.
But certainly in the apartment building itself, that's not going to be that is most definitely Michael's, and therefore the coteries.
Okay.
So I guess that's, I don't know how much of that answers your question to answer Ruby's question, but
Got it.
Ruby kind of frowns and then says, I don't get it. Like, I thought like all vampires were, I know we're territorial, but like I didn't understand like some of the things that she was saying to you.
It's a lot of fucking politics. And I tried for a long time to not get wrapped up in it. Just let Michael handle it. But now all this shit has come to our doorstep. And, we were kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. And Now we know better, but yeah, we have to, stick to our own stomping grounds, as it were.
At about this time, you see someone walking down the street towards you. His hair is kind of undercut with long bangs. His face is sharp, like it's cut from stone. He is wearing a black and white suit that is stretched and cracked and coming apart at the seams. You've seen this individual once, maybe twice. The first time was the night that you found Idaho.
So this guy's from the tower?
No. This would have been the gentleman leering down at you from the top of the building with all of his friends.
Oh. Crap.
As he walks right between the two of you with a wicked smile on his mouth.
Fuck. We've been spotted.
As he walks past you, you see him reach into his coat, but you can't see what he's reaching for. But you do see him as he turns and walks into Voyeur. Do you go back, or do you keep moving?
He goes back, what, into the club?
So he walked right past you guys and headed into Voyeur, into the club.
Okay, I didn't get the name of the club before. Okay. Let's get home fast.
As you start to move, you hear faint popping sounds. And you think you hear screaming.
From inside the apartment?
From inside the club.
Oh.
As you're moving away.
I'm in the wrong place. Seriously, I do not need to get caught up in some bullshit at the club. A club I wasn't even supposed to be in at the first place.
When You look at Ruby. Her eyes are the size of saucers. And she's got her hands over her mouth. And she looks at you and she goes, "Wasn't he there? Where they locked us up, he was there."
Yeah. What are you suggesting?
She grabs your hand. And you can feel the blood running through her veins as her heart is beating rapidly. And she grabs your hand and pulls it and starts to run. And starts to head back to the apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So, this seems like an appropriate place to leave our pair for
No. No. Everybody, like, just got here. A bunch of people, like, just showed up and are like, what's going on?
However, I am quite certain that this particular tale has not ended.
Oh, hell no.
So,
not fair, man.
So, with that said, our solo for tonight wasn't supposed to be a solo.
Wasn't supposed to be, and then, yeah, people had life issues, and I was the only one here. And that includes my husband. He had to work late tonight, didn't know what was going to happen, so what are you going to do?
Perhaps you being the only one here and not being particularly readily identifiable may have in fact worked in your favor tonight.
That's good. I hope. And for anybody that just showed up, I'm so sorry. We're not going late tonight, but I do upload all these sessions to my YouTube channel. And so the links are all on my Twitch About Me page. Yeah, and so it'll be up there probably tomorrow. And you guys can catch what you missed from before. But I really do thank you all for joining us. And please know that Monday nights are our regular nights. Monday, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I at least am in Texas, so that's my time. Thank you for the bits, John. Thank you. I hope work was not too hard today. And yeah, I guess if that's anything else, I want to thank my new follower tonight. It's Jenna. Thank you so much for following and joining along, and hope to see you Monday, which now isn't that far away. Whenever we have sessions and we have to wait the whole week, it's like, oh God, it's Wednesday. But yeah.
Yeah, and this is going to be, I think that if we can finally get everybody here on Monday is going to be one of the more impactful nights, let's say.
Yes.
As the coterie decides to take back what's theirs.
Yes, reclaim our territory. Oh, John, I'm sorry. Oh, wow. So it's Jenna says, I live in South Korea, so time is weird for me. So we have a viewer from South Korea. Dude, that's so great.
That's awesome.
I love hearing where people are from. It's so exciting. So, John, I'm sorry the rest of the day was a pain. And, you can always message me, man. I'm always on the Instas and everywhere else to talk. So, yeah, I think that's everything. And I really hope you guys can join us. So, thanks for coming to the playground tonight. And we will see you soon. Bye.